Now, while Israel carries out hundreds of airstrikes across Syria on what they call military targets, Middle Eastern nations are accusing the Israeli government of exploiting the situation to execute a new land grab there. Meantime, the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, is facing his own internal battle at home over allegations of corruption and bribery. This week, he became the first sitting prime minister to testify in court against criminal charges. And now, a new documentary is offering an extraordinary insight behind the scenes. The Bibi Files features leaked secret footage of the police interviews of Netanyahu, his wife and his son, and those accused of bribing him. Due to strict Israeli privacy laws, the film can't be legally distributed in Israel, and we can't show the interrogation footage either. Netanyahu denies all the charges, but I've been speaking with director Alexis Bloom and the Oscar-winning producer Alex Gibney about what they found. Alex Gibney and Alexis Bloom, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So you're the producer, Alex, and you're the director, Alexis. I want to know how this first came to you. And I believe, Alex, you were given the tip-off about these interrogation videos.
Yes, I got a pop-up on Signal. I get a lot of those, and most of them are cranks. But this one appeared to be real. And somebody said that, my source said that there were these police interrogation videos which formed the basis of the indictment of Benjamin Netanyahu on corruption charges. And these are the police actually interviewing Netanyahu, his wife Sara, his son Yair, and all sorts of people who were involved in the corruption case. I don't speak Hebrew, so it took me a moment to kind of reckon with them, but I figured they were probably going to be pretty potent. And the next thing I did was to bring on a producer named Raviv Drucker, who is a very well-established investigative journalist in Israel, to help me kind of understand the importance and value of this. And then I immediately turned to Alexis to direct the film because she and I had worked together before, and I knew she had the journalistic chops and also filmmaking skills to make this what it needed to be.
So, Alexis, let me ask you, the trial is underway. For the first time since this trial actually began in 2020, Netanyahu is in the courtroom, so to speak. It's a jerry-rigged courtroom in the basement of a building in Tel Aviv. We're not seeing what's going on, but there are reports coming out. It's pretty good timing for this film.
Yes, it is pretty good timing. I mean, we've been saying that for a year. Every time you think something's going to happen or that he's going to say something substantive or have to face the charges, it turns out that he sort of shirks them. The first day of the court hearing was a little disappointing in that he used it mainly for grandstanding, I would say. He was saying that there's an attempted coup against him, the media is out to get him, that the judicial system is biased, and he used it very much to sort of attack what he calls the deep state.
Well, look, you say the deep state, it obviously all sounds very Trumpian as well, when he talks about the media against him, his domestic enemies against him, and he uses those terms. And that is what's happening, certainly from what you've reported and what we have seen in the interrogation tapes. It was very much putting the burden on all his perceived enemies in-house. But here's the thing, Alexis and Alex, your film cannot be seen at this point inside Israel because of various laws and privacy provisions that prohibit that kind of interrogation footage being shown at this time. Alex, how do you think it's going to get to the people who you want to see?
Well, I do think that we wanted the international audience to see it, and they will see it in all of its honesty and glory. The people in Israel will see it, but almost certainly via pirated means. We already know that it's caused a big stir in Israel. I mean, one of the things about these interrogation videos that I think needs to be clear is that you sort of see Netanyahu not exactly in an unguarded moment. He's very much aware of the camera, but it's a very vulnerable moment or a series of moments. And then you see Sara, his wife, and his son Yair show this kind of unbelievable contempt for the rule of law and the state, which is, I think, for Israelis, really shocking to see. And in the leaks that have happened outside of official channels, they're getting a look at it, and it's causing quite a stir. From an international perspective, I think, for years and years and years, we've been fed, in part because, Netanyahu controls his image so assiduously, this idea that he is the grand statesman. Well, there's a kind of seamy, corrupt, petty criminal underbelly to this man, which these tapes really show in a way that I think many people will find shocking.
And of course, we have to say that he denies all the charges against him. Having said that, Alexis, describe for us, since we cannot, and on this platform, international viewers will not see the clips, could you tell us, describe what Alex is talking about? Because I've seen the screener, obviously, and I agree, it's a very different Netanyahu under interrogation, albeit aware of the camera, than it is in his usual public posture.
Well, the interrogations were lengthy, even though he controls when the police come and they have to come to him, to his office, unlike the other interrogations where people go to the police station. But they're lengthy, so some of them are 4 hours long. And if you look, I always tended to look at the end of the interrogations first, when he gets tired. And when he gets tired, the mask slips and he gets angry, he gets sweaty, he gets defensive, there's a lot of arm crossing. The denials get more repeated. He gets exasperated. So you do see him on the defensive. Occasionally, he loses his temper and he bangs the table, most often when he's played the recordings of other people. So occasionally, the police will play a recording where another witness says, this happened, Netanyahu asked me to do this. He asked me to approach this person. He asked me to sign this paperwork. And then Netanyahu will get angry and say, he's lying, or multiple people are lying, they're all lying. And then he does get quite enervated.
I think the other thing that's interesting, there's a very interesting sequence in Alexis's film in which a number of people close to Netanyahu recall what an extraordinary memory he has for everything. And then you see a series of clips in which he says over and over and over, I can't remember, I can't recall, don't remember, can't recall. And at which point at some point the police just laugh. It's like, if I was to tell you that light over there, which is on, is off, that would be a lie. But it's so evident that he's lying throughout these interrogations, shamelessly, but in ways that are clearly very practiced.
And it's actually very interesting because he does use that, that device, which many defendants do use, or many people who are being questioned use, I don't recall, or in this case, I was surprised because he was very petulant. He appears very petulant. I might have done it, I might not have done it. There was a lot of that kind of stuff. And I just wonder, there's a sense of l'état c'est moi. I am the state. You are attacking Israel when you so, impudently ask me these questions. Did you feel that, Alexis? Certainly when you saw the Sara Netanyahu, because she really is like that. She said, how dare you talk about my husband who's done nothing but good for the state of Israel?
I felt that very strongly, but not only from the material, from everybody that I spoke to in Israel, both on the record and off the record. It was a theme that came up again and again and again, regardless of the political spectrum. The people that I was talking to, some very right-wing people would say, he thinks he's King David. It came up so often. I went into this film not being as critical of Netanyahu as I ended up being, just because people, the number of people I can't count who said there should be a term limit in Israel. He's in power now, it's coming up to 17 years, and many, many people said that.
Interesting. And just about Sara Netanyahu, throughout the film, and you talk to principals as well. You don't just have the interrogation footage. You talk to those who have been interrogated. As you said, Raviv Drucker, who helped you produce it, is also very, copiously interviewed. You've got Hadass Klein, who's the personal assistant of one of those people who's accused of paying off Netanyahu with champagne and cigars and this and that. Again, he denies all of this. But what a lot of people sort of expressed to you, what is the hold that Sara Netanyahu has on him? She's in every meeting, she's with him all the time, whether he's meeting with hostage families, whether he's, doing political meetings. She's a major player in the Netanyahu political couple. What did you think after your interviews about her influence on him?
Well, I don't know. I can't speculate. It's sort of dangerous to be a psychologist and say this is her holdover.
No, I sort of mean I sort of mean what people told you about it, because because there was this hot tape where apparently he had admitted having an affair, etc. It just seems like a very convoluted, I don't know, partnership.
I'd say they're codependent, certainly. They are a power couple. Everybody in Israel says they rule together. She has an enormous amount of power. She knows his schedule. I mean, generally, the pattern was that Benjamin is very smart, knowledgeable in a cerebral way, and she has the instincts, the emotional intelligence. She scopes people out for loyalty. That's her department. So they sort of, they unify in this way. He turns to her on questions of loyalty. Who can I trust and who do I not trust? Who's good for the family? And that's known to be her contribution to their partnership. But they, it's his third marriage. The optics of them getting divorced at this stage, I think, would be very bad politically for him. So they're sort of bonded, come hell or high water.
Yeah, it's very human. She caught him in an act of infidelity. And ever since then, according to people Alexis spoke to, she's had a very tight hold on him. And I think he's afraid that she'll leave him. This is very human stuff. But in this case, it has a dramatic effect on the state. And there's one sort of appalling moment in the film where families of hostage families, Israeli hostage families, are sort of brought in to kiss the ring of Sara Netanyahu in order to hope that maybe she'll, exert some influence on her husband to try to get them back. It's really a very disturbing episode.
But I want to finally ask you, Alex, this had quite a lot of obviously real-world implications. His preoccupation with the trial, and then the trying to stamp out the democratic protests against his so-called judicial overhaul to even increase the power of the prime minister. And he was warned about it, that, quote unquote, the enemies are watching our internal dysfunction at the moment, and he didn't pay attention. And one of the clips that we are able to play is about those warnings and what people, whether they were in intelligence or ordinary civilians, felt about that preceded the October 7th massacres by Hamas. Quite dramatic, that testimony. The first was Ami Ayalon, member of the security establishment. I've interviewed him many times. That essentially Netanyahu puts his own political and physical self ahead of the national good.
Yes, and I think this is the most appalling thing about the Netanyahu story. This film starts with examples of petty corruption, of entitlement, going back to your idea of l'état c'est moi. But it ends with the most appalling and huge corruption, which is the idea that you will carry on an unbelievable amount of carnage in order to be able to safeguard your own personal political position. That's a kind of corruption that really is staggering in its venality and destruction.
Of course, as you all know, we have to say, denies that. Nonetheless, here we are. Alex Gibney, Alexis Bloom, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the Bibi Files is out today in New York on the online platform jolt.film, and here in the UK on Friday.